it helped me feel like my grandma was still there with us. I felt her presence throughout the whole day. I know she was down smiling on us. And so that's why for me, when someone passes, it's important to, you know, remember them as part of that healing process. I see a few things in the chat here. Let's see. Does someone want to read those off, or I can read them off?
I can help you with that. Let's see. Looks like our first one is from Daisy. I hope I said that correct. It connects us to our heritage and ancestors. Jovita says, reminder that our ancestors are always with us, not just during Dia de los Muertos. Knowing from Gabriela, knowing that their memory will live on with us even if they are not here physically. Michaela, it reminds us that the more we remember our loved ones, the more their history, stories, traditions, and values live on through us. Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Julie, it's comforting to remember loved ones that have passed on. I lost 8 people in 10 months, starting with my dad. Creating my own ofrenda and putting up pictures of loved ones fills me with the love I have for them, and the love overtakes the grief. Lenny, the ones we remember are a part of who we are. In remembering them, we become more whole and more connected to the larger we of who we are. Being able to still be able to express our love for them. Picture my dad, Feliciano Arce. He passed away 25 years ago today. Olivia, thank you for sharing your story, Susana, so beautiful. For me, Dia de los Muertos has been an important part of my healing after my sister passed. The tradition of honoring her with stories, food, and music, and watching some of our favorite shows has let joy and light in and keep her alive. And Delia shared a beautiful picture. Thank you so much. Yasmin helps me remember how important they were in my life, how they shaped and honoring them. It helps with a grievance process. Sedona. Delia, mi abuelo had similar glasses, cool, and mustache. Esther, it gives us a chance to remember the happy memories of those who have passed and reminds everyone in the family how they have shaped us, especially for the little ones who may not have had a chance to know them as much as we did. I'm thinking of my dad especially. And you're most welcome. And I think that's all we have in the chat.
Thank you for those, and thank you for that icebreaker. I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. You already met Susana a little bit, but I'd like to give a formal, informal introduction for all three. First, we have Addie, who is reading the chat comments. Adelaida Rodriguez began her career as a financial services specialist with DSHS in 2000 and medical, cash, food. Her experience includes outstation worker for Yakima Neighborhood Health, Farm Workers Clinic, volunteering in the mobile CSO, working out of the Yakima CSO for a little while. She's been a lead worker, PBS4 for the Southwest team for 10 years. And most recently, a virtual case management center with the customer service contact center for the last 3 years. Her career with the department spans over 20 years, and she's worked on many work groups, childcare, medical, food, cash, and including being part of several work groups for the Secretary of DSHS, Hilma Meneses. Loved Hilma. And different projects that she assisted on to implement processes to improve staff resources and show clients access to services. She was also a nominee for the David Stillman Award in 2025. And Addie's a big believer in family, and you can always find her spending time with them, and she's been married for 31 years to her husband Ben, has 3 children, Joshua, Teddy, Mia, and 4 fur babies that keep her on her toes, Louis, Chiquito, Bentley, and Armani. So let's welcome her in the chat. Send her some love and some emojis. And we have Susana Gerard, is a supervisor with Department of Social and Health Services, Division of Child Support. She's dedicated 18 years to public service at DCS, and she began her career as a non-permanent office assistant 3 and has advanced throughout the years into her current leadership position. She was born in California and raised in Olympia, Lacey area. She's proud of her Mexican heritage. Her parents are of Mexican descent, and her stepfather, who helped raise her, immigrated from Mexico. Her husband is an immigrant from England, making diversity, culture, and inclusion deeply personal values that she holds and carries into her professional life. Outside of work, Susana enjoys spending time with her husband and 4 children, whose ages range from preschool to high school. Wow. And she also balances family activities, after-school events, and time with friends. Let's show Susana some love in the chat and with your emojis. Juan Garza holds a special place in my heart. So does Addie and Susana. Juan and I worked on the same team. So Juan celebrates the 10th year in state government this year, spending most of it with the DSHS office, and most recently as the organization strategy and performance consultant with the Office of Financial Management, OFM. Prior to his stint with state government, Juan was a special education teacher for 7 years in both Texas and Washington State, where he developed a passion for facilitation and instructional design. He continues to be inspired by his colleagues and peers and is determined to remain part of a collective effort in maintaining a focus on equity and human-centeredness in social services. He's a stubborn Taurus, born and raised in the lower Yakima Valley with familial roots in deep South Texas. And he thinks chocolate and peanut butter are the best combination on earth, and will be spending his favorite holiday, Dia de los Muertos, this year in Puerto Vallarta with family and friends. Let's welcome Juan. Welcome, friends. We will now open with a video, unless somebody was going to introduce the video.
Yep, that's me. I'm going to introduce our video for us.
Great.
Let's see. Sorry, I lost my slide here. Many people who are not familiar with our cultura or have yet to discover these raíces often compare Dia de los Muertos, a Mexican tradition and custom, with Halloween. The holiday blends pre-Hispanic indigenous rituals with Catholicism, which arrived in Mexico with the Spanish in the 1500s. Para nosotros, los mexicanos, Día de Muertos es un tiempo para recordar y honrar nuestros difuntos. It's a time to remember and honor our deceased loved ones. Unlike Halloween's focus on fear, Día de los Muertos is a joyful celebration. It involves parties, parades, music, dancing, and sharing stories to remember and celebrate the lives of those who have passed. There are other Latin American countries that celebrate Dia de los Muertos in their own unique way, name and customs. For example, Haiti, known as Fête des Jeux, a festival honoring the spirits of the dead. Guatemala features the Festival de Barriletes Gigantes, or Festival of Giant Kites. Ecuador celebrates El Día de los Difuntos, which is important to the Quichua people. Brazil, Día de los Muertos. Costa Rica, Día de Todos Santos, and even the Philippines. It's called Undas. This video is a great illustration of the tradition, history, and celebration of life that Dia de los Muertos represents for us, los Mexicanos. This national celebration in Mexico is not solely honored by Mexicanos, but people from around the world.
Thank you. I can't tell who's sharing the screen.
Para todos los mexicanos, en la que nuestros seres queridos vuelven a nosotros. Y entre flores, ofrendas y colores son recordados. los primeros días de noviembre, cuando el otoño pinta los cielos, nuestros difuntos vuelven a la tierra. Nosotros celebramos su regreso y les damos la bienvenida a casa.
Es una tradición que debemos de preservar, que ha pasado de generación en generación y es una manera de recordar a las personas que ya no están con nosotros y se les festeja ese día porque es una fiesta nacional aquí en México.
Con el color naranja de las flores, honramos sus lugares de descanso.
El cempasúchil tiene un significado ritual muy importante. Es una flor que nos conecta con nuestros difuntos.
Por un momento en el tiempo, nuestros mundos vuelven a estar juntos. Y vestidos de color vuelven a la vida.
Wir waren vor 2 Jahren schon mal hier in Mexiko an der Zeit vom Dia de los Muertos und das hat uns sehr beeindruckt, weil sowas wir in Deutschland oder auch in Österreich nicht kennen.
Diese Verbindung zu den Verstorbenen und zu den Lieben einfach sehr präsent macht wieder, dass man die nie vergisst und dass man mit ihnen noch einmal eine schöne Zeit verbringt. Wir finden es hier sehr, sehr schön, es ist sehr farbenfroh, obwohl es eigentlich etwas Trauriges ist, wird es doch sehr mit Liebe und mit Leidenschaft gefeiert. Das ist sehr schön.
Por supuesto, una de las tradiciones que más queremos como mexicanos y no podíamos dejar pasar la oportunidad para igual venir y disfrutar, vestirnos y bueno, compartir un poquito con todos los extranjeros de lo que es nuestra muy rica cultura mexicana.
Como mexicano me honra esta tradición, celebrar la muerte en vida y que no solamente la muerte se acaba ahí, que hay algo más allá.
En cada lugar de México, nuestros fieles difuntos son celebrados. Y en la gran ciudad, un desfile recorre las calles.
Wir fühlen uns hier sehr wohl und es ist ein ganz, ganz wunderbares, farbenfrohes und tolles Fest und auch die Leute hier, die sind alle so herzlich und ja.
Im Allgemeinen sind die Mexikaner sehr, sehr nett. Wir fühlen uns hier sehr wohl.
I think it's very nice because in Europe we celebrate in a very dark way. Here it's so full of colors and you are welcoming the people that you lost, which is a way to actually celebrate instead of being sad, and it's pretty nice.
Igual, o sea, ella vino porque quería conocer un poquito más de la cultura y realmente estoy conociendo con ella porque no suelo como que venir a todos estos lugares, pero se me hace increíble, o sea, el desfile estuvo padrísimo y claro, la cultura que tenemos es inmensa y muy bonita.
La noche se ilumina con música y tradiciones. Y disfrazados de catrinas y catrines, recordamos que la vida se debe vivir con alegría. Porque no celebramos la muerte, sino la vida. Y el recuerdo de aquellos con quienes la compartimos. Porque sabemos que algún día volveremos a estar juntos.
Beautiful. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Feel free to share any feedback, as some of you already have in the chat. Thank you, Adelaida, for finding that video. It was gorgeous. And yes, there is something special about hearing it in Spanish and the creators having been people with experience. So thank you. Thank you so much. And also on that note, the song that we played at the beginning, La Llorona, also has a beautiful video. We were showing the lyrics so that you knew the lyrics, but I think we will play it again at the end and let you see the video, because the video is gorgeous for that one. So that will be our ending video today. We will replay La Llorona so that you can see it. So today we'd like to welcome our special guests, nuestros invitados especiales. And we're going to just open it up and have a conversation today. And we'll open it up with this starting question. And then I think I'll just stop sharing my slide and just bring it to vamos a sobremesa, as if we're talking at the table, having a conversation about Dia de los Muertos. So the question for all of you, if you'd like to answer this question or something similar, what does Dia de los Muertos mean to you? And how have you reclaimed this tradition in your life? Juan, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, thank you, Edminia. Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Garza. I use he, him pronouns. And go ahead, Edminia. You have something else?
Oh, no. I was just distracted by Susana's ofrenda pictures.
Aren't they beautiful?
So let me know when to show those.
Yeah, please share them as we're discussing. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I can't believe we're finally here. Addie, Susana, we started planning this back in August, right? Like it was end of August, and now we're here at the end of October. Time is flying by so quickly. And thank you, Olivia. My heart is so full too. It's actually been full every time I've stopped to plan and prepare for this presentation. This is my favorite holiday. This is my favorite holiday of all time. I'm gonna try to get through this without being too emotional, but it's really, really hard for me because it has such a profound impact on the later half of my life. Like this wasn't always my favorite holiday. I didn't even know this holiday existed until probably I'd say like my early 20s when I was in college. And I just kind of took a step out into the world, and I realized that there was this tremendous part of my cultura, of my heritage, that I was completely oblivious to. This is my ofrenda from actually a couple of years ago. And I gotta say, when I found out about it, this was years and years before Coco, but I love that movie. It was one of those experiences where I felt, and I will be completely honest, I felt very ashamed. I felt very self-conscious because I didn't know, I had no knowledge or no awareness really, or no formal teaching or upbringing into this custom, into this tradition. And so I felt like a bad Latino. I felt like a bad brown person. But I later realized, I'm second generation, like on my mother's side, first generation on my father's side. And so it's a byproduct of, I think, this toxicity around assimilation culture, right? Which is something that, my parents had to go through in a very, very horrendous way. So much, in fact, that they raised me and my sisters in this lifestyle of, that was super Americanized and super whitewashed. And there are some things that, we didn't retain and we didn't practice in our household, and other things that we uplifted, like Christmas, which was my favorite holiday for most of my life. And that was pretty much the status quo, and that was the standard. So I still love Christmas, of course, but this by far is my absolute 100% favorite holiday. And what I've done to reclaim it since finding out what it is, what it means, what it represents, is celebrating it every single year, and doing more and more research. I learned something new about this holiday every single year that I celebrate it. And that's so amazing to me, because how many of us just kind of feel like sometimes when we're just like in that stuck space of like the same old humdrum of things and the same old like process that we engage in, whether it's one holiday or the other, or just, family traditions. But this is just something that I think it brings so much warmth and joy to my life, and ironically so, because death in my family was mourned on such an elevated level. And here's a little disclosure: Addie and I are actually first cousins. So Adelaida and me were family. And so whenever somebody would pass away in our family, our families would get together at someone's house, usually a matriarch or patriarch, and there would just be this enormous wailing, just crying, just like you wouldn't, heaven could hear you, like it, and in that moment, in that instance. And so as a child growing up, I was really raised with the trauma of death and the finality of that. And there was a lot of fear associated with that. What this holiday's really done is it's given me a whole new perspective on the enduring power of love and how our ancestors continue to hold that for us, even after they passed, and exploring different ways that we can carry that with us who are still here and still living. How do we magnify and honor them, with our actions, with our words, and with our deeds? And so I'm going to stop right there because it's already happening. But thank you for the question. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to all of you who chose to be here today. I know you all are working really, really hard, and this is a holiday that I think more than anything reminds us of what's really important in this life. So I'm going to pass it on to one of my panelists to keep answering the question.
Thank you, Juan, so much. But isn't that what this holiday is about? I love the phrase that you said. It's about enduring love and being transparent with our emotion and vulnerable and holding love and grief and joy and remembrance all together. You don't have to choose. Thank you so much. So, Adelaida, would you like to go next?
Hi. What this has meant to me? Well, growing up in a very religious family, Pentecostal belief on one side, Catholic on the other. This was not a holiday we celebrated in my family growing up. Much like Juan said, when somebody passed, it was just a wailing, a mourning. And we would definitely remember in song. Our family is really big about singing. No matter when we get together, it's something that we do. But just that it was not a time of celebration of those we remembered, right? It was about the loss we experienced. And growing up, because of everything being so Americanized as we grew up, it was more about, oh, this is a Mexican Halloween. And it's like, what, really? And I couldn't understand growing up, like, why my other friends, Mexicanos from Mexico, from, South Texas, wherever, along the border there, they would celebrate it. And I'm like, well, this is not a good holiday to get involved in. Why are they doing that? I don't get that. My husband is also Mexicano. He grew up in California, the San Jose, Gilroy area over there. They didn't celebrate it either. And so I didn't feel like I was off base in any way. But then as I started doing more of my research, as my children grew up, I needed them. I wanted them to know more about their culture, their history, their family tree. I started, looking into these things. And I was so proud of Juan when I saw him post his first ofrenda on social media. I was like, yes, he did a wonderful job. Great, way to go. And then, my kids noticed it. So they're like, what's Theo doing? And so I explained to them what it was, which was an opportunity to share our culture, our heritage with them. My kids, surprising, growing up, my suegra, full disclosure here, would take care of my kids, and she refused to teach them how to speak Spanish. And I always asked, like, why? And I said, I speak Spanish. That's how I was raised, She said, well, because we're an American, they need to learn how to speak English. And I just shook my head and I was like, okay. So at home I would try, to do that. But my husband, he understood more Spanish than he spoke. He spoke it a lot when he was younger, but when they moved up here to Washington, there was no more speaking it for him. But when I take my kids over to our family gatherings and celebrations, you know, you go down the line and it's like, this is your tío, this is your tía, this is your, you know, grandma's brother, this is your great grandma, you know, the whole thing. And then when they'd start to pass away, it would be kind of like, well, Mom, what happened? Who's that? And then I would explain to them, do you remember we met this person da 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 down the line? And they're like, oh, okay. So then I would explain, well, they passed away, and this is why it's affecting me the way that it is. They could never understand why I held on to their little pictures, you know, when we'd go to a wake or a funeral. For me, it was honoring, something that I would hold on to, you know, forever. But when I explained to my husband, I said, look, this is really what the celebration is about, this holiday, this gathering, Dia de Muertos. It's not about this Mexican Halloween as we were taught. This was not a horrific, horror, sad moment in time. This is about celebrating those that we love. And my husband was kind of like, okay, I kind of get it. And then Coco came out. Thank you, Disney. And so then my kids got to watch that, and then they were like, oh. I said, yeah, exactly. This is what I was trying to explain to you. And they're like, well, that's cool, you know. And so when I explained to my husband, I said, look, I'm going to put up an ofrenda, and I need you to understand why I'm doing this. And he was like, completely get it. He goes, I'm 100% on board, you know, because it wasn't about idolizing. It wasn't about anything that went against our beliefs. It was about celebrating our family. So in my home, this is my ofrenda. I have up there my family on my mother's side, my father's side. Juan and our grandmother, grandfather, and our tía is there, whom two of my children are named after. And then I also included my husband's side of the family for those who have passed on, and things that they like to do. Obviously, cooking, music, huge in my family, really huge. But it has definitely allowed me to reclaim that heritage and that culture for my family and pass that on to my kids, along with stories. You know, when they ask, well, who's this in this picture? And then I could tell them and what they would do and what they meant in my life. So it's definitely allowed me to reclaim that history, that heritage, and pass it on to my kids.
Thank you so much for sharing, Adelaida. And hooray to Juan for being the first. We always need the first in our families, especially when you know there's going to be chisme and gossip about that, you know, like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And then for you to follow along, and then for our kids and Coco, you know, and the importance. Just I resonate so much with both of your stories because of the religious part and the family part, and just who comes out first about anything that you know the family's going to be having chisme over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just a little fun fact about Juan and I. Juan was actually in my wedding many moons ago. He was my ring bearer too. So yeah, we're that
I'll
close.
have a picture of Juan as the ring bearer.
I'll have to find you one and show it to you. But yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Susana, what does this holiday mean to you?
So for me, it means taking the time and the opportunity to remember those who we've lost. Each year, I've been doing my ofrenda for maybe 4 years now, I think, when we moved into this house. And just every year when the photos stay, you know, around the house during the year. And but when we get to October, we take down anything. We usually have school photos up over the ofrenda, but so we take those, move those photos, and then we put up the photos of family that we have lost. And it's a little bit different from the historical or the way that maybe a lot of people do it, but we put up photos with ourselves, with that person. And so the picture I have up right now is, I covered up some of the family photos, but there's a picture of me and my grandma Elena, the one who I talked about earlier about losing right before my wedding. And so just, it really brings back all the memories once I'm moving those photos over and thinking of the memories that we had. I could hear her laugh, could hear her, she had a very loud laugh. And at times I think when I laugh, I laugh like her. And just pictures of other family members or friends that have passed. And in my home, we have a lot of fusion, right? Of different cultures. We have the Mexican culture, we have the American culture, and we have the English culture for my husband. And so we like to have fun with our ofrenda as well. So as you can see in the photos, we do have the infamous Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And we also have a little statue of the Queen of England as well. And so, you know, we just like to have it, you know, make it fun in our house. Encourage the kids to ask questions, you know, because as the years go on, my kids are probably not going to remember much of my grandmother or aunts or uncles that have passed away. And so having those pictures of the kids with them, of us with them, it can remind them of who we've lost. And then also, like I said, just having fun with it as well. And then it's part of the healing process for me as well, not having them in our lives. And so it's just a reminder that, you know, we're not here for a long time and that we should do our best to leave a legacy for our family and friends and something that they can be proud of.
Thank you so much. I know you're going to talk about the different elements, but I just love the orange. I love the butterflies and everything. Just, I hope that you're reading the chat as well. People are moved. They are emotionally moved by your words because there's so much connection. We can all relate to not celebrating it, even if it was for other reasons other than religious, because of that assimilation that you talked about from your grandmother not wanting you to speak Spanish, Addie, you know, and the influence of colonization that has had even on our culture, like this internalized racism, if I can call it that, against our traditions and our culture, that they've been demonized for religious reasons. But it was really about wanting to erase us, our language and our tradition. So I think that's why it's so touching and moving for so many of us. And because we all have our baggage about how our families talked about it as well. And the trauma of whenever you brought it up or asked questions. It's just the way it is. So just opening it up, if any of you have anything else to share, just based on what we all shared already before we move on to your loteria.
So I'll just add on too, because I forgot about this until it was mentioned earlier. So I was one of those people who did think it was like a Mexican Halloween. Or I also thought it might have just been, you know, a Catholic thing, because my grandma actually she got baptized and she practiced, she was a Mormon. And so for me, when I would see the videos or see, you know, things about Dia de los Muertos, I thought it was either, you know, having to do with Catholic or having to do with Halloween. And so once like when Coco came out, right, they like really explain it in such a good way for adult and for kids. And that really, it did spark our interest. And you know, it was funny because my husband, so we had a movie night, but I went to go watch a Marvel movie with my son. And then he went to go watch Coco with our two daughters. And he had come out of that movie and he was just like, there was not a dry eye in that theater at the end of the movie. And that really sparked an interest in him just, not being Mexican or American, like it really, he then like researched it because he just loved the message, loved how we celebrated death, celebrated those who loved us, and that connection of, just reminding that we're all still here, even if not physically, we're here, spiritually. And so, yeah, that really helped me to do more research and understand more, and just being able to celebrate. And like, this whole month we've been talking about going back to our roots, and it's really this, even just meeting with Juan and Adelaida this past 2 months, it went by fast, but we just had great conversations with each other, doing research. And there's a lot of stuff that I learned during this last month and a half, and I'm really excited for this year to be able to celebrate more and to share more information with my children as well.
Thank you for sharing, Susana. I know that I resonate with that, especially with the Coco movie piece, because again, I grew up the same way, and it was my son introducing Coco to me and me having to analyze it with a different lens that I realized how beautiful it was. And the point is life, not death. So, Juan, I will pass it to you to introduce another tradition that you have all integrated into this tradition.
Absolutely. So Juan here again, and we want to segue into. Thank you so much, by the way, Addie and Susana, for our thoughts and our collective work on this. And thank you so much to Sedona, who's doing the tech behind the scenes and moving the slides, and also Emilia for doing the same thing, and also for moderating this experience. We so value you and all the work that you've done on other Lunch and Learns. And just big round of applause for the Latino Leadership Network for doing this, not just this season, but every season, and for staying so vigilant and passionate about bringing our culture back into front and center and into focus, especially during this critical time that we find ourselves in. Celebrating this holiday for me as we move into this activity is an expression of decolonization and is an act of protest. And I will say that. I don't know if we're recording or not, but it doesn't matter, because that's exactly how I feel, and that's exactly what I'll stand by. And so let's have some fun. I believe Herminia is going to drop some documents in the chat. Those documents are Loteria cards. So what is Loteria? Loteria is kind of like Mexican bingo. It actually was erected in the early 1500s, I think, in Italy, and then made its way over to Mexico, I think, around the 1800s, maybe a couple hundred years later. But just as you see here on the screen, it's a vibrant game of chance that uses illustrated cards that usually have a rhyme connected to them. It's a popular tradition at family gatherings. I know that in my household, we played Loteria at holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas and even Easter sometimes. It varied a little bit with the pieces. Sometimes we would use frijoles or beans. Other times we would use pennies and play for money. Some of the elders in my family loved that version of Loteria because they walked away with some change, which they loved to. I don't know, jingling was a thing. I think for that generation, they just loved to hear themselves jingle as they walked around. So that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we can't be together in person to do this, so we are doing it virtually, and we're going to do our best to do this virtually. So what you see in the chat are two versions of the same set of cards. So there's a PDF version, and then there's a Word version. There are 5 Loteria cards in total. And so thank you for showing that on this screen. We invite you to pick one. We're all going to play with one card today until someone says bingo, and then we'll have an opportunity to continue with that card if you want, or if you'd like to switch up to another card. Again, there are 5 options, but we will play each round one card at a time. So no multiple cards. I had uncles and aunts who like to do that. So everyone's playing with one card today, and then when someone says bingo, we'll give you the option to switch, or you can continue with the same card. A couple ways that you can mark your card. You can do it on Word through the Draw app, which is what I prefer personally. So if you want to bring up the Word version of that document, you can look at your toolbar at the top of Microsoft Word, find the Draw. And someone's showing it, that's great. And after you click Draw, you'll pick your poison. I like the thick marker, so some folks might want to do a little fine point, and they can mark it just like that. Perfect. Thank you so much. If many are sitting, I'm not sure who's sharing, but thank you so much for showing that. So you can keep track like that, or if you have a good memory, perfect. You can keep track that way also. Does everybody have their cards? Can we get a virtual thumbs up so that we know we're ready to go? Perfect. One more thing, we're not going to get through all of the amazing icons and tidbits that are on these cards. There's so many different things, but we will upload a version of this to the LLN page so that folks can kind of look through some of the history that we uncovered behind each of these pieces and crucial components to the custom and the holiday. And we invite you to look through that as much as you can. We'll try to sneak in hopefully 2 rounds at least, maybe 3. Depending on how quickly we move through this. So, all right, cards ready. And oh, one more thing. Bingo is through chat. So make sure you're a fast typer and type in bingo, and then we'll go in order. If there's several bingos, we'll go in whatever order shows up on the chat. Okay, I think we're ready. First one is El Músico. El Músico. You have El Músico on your card. Go ahead and mark that. A little bit of history on El Músico here. This is an important part of the holiday music, as it's stated in the custom research, guides the spirits on their journey from the afterlife back to the altar or the ofrenda. I know personally, Addie and I come from the same family. She mentioned this in her panel response. Music was a huge part of our family. And specifically, I remember our grandmother who passed away from early onset Alzheimer's, dementia. This was the thing that brought her back to us. Every single time she would have this blank stare, just wouldn't really even, be with us in long periods. She'd lose her speech and her memory. When we would sing to her, very similar to the last scene in Coco, her color would just flood her face again. Her eyes would open up and she would actually even start singing back with us too. So this, to no surprise, is a huge part of Day of the Dead. So El Músico, if you have that, please go ahead and mark it. Next.
So our next card is La Monarca. So the belief is that obviously the butterfly would carry that spirit. The timing of the migration of the butterfly, the monarch butterfly, during the winter is, it centrally lines up with Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, which is really cool. So it kind of just reinforces that, life coming in at that time to celebrate it. This belief is, definitely indigenous, and it is attributing, the spiritual significance of the arrival of our family members, on those days. So if La Monarca, if you have that on your card, please mark that off. Okay.
All right, and next we have El Atal. This tradition of placing photos and items welcomes and honors departed loved ones, inviting them to return home. It focuses on remembering and celebrating lives and cherished memories. And the atal or ofrenda serves as a bridge between the living and the spiritual worlds, featuring photos, favorite foods, marigolds, candles, sugar skulls, water, salt, personal mementos, and certain traditions. Each level holds a meaningful, item, and so traditionally, the top level often includes photos of loved ones, candles, incense. The middle one features favorite foods, pan de muertos, sugar skulls, marigolds, and then the bottom holds salt, water, small toys for the children, and it symbolized purification, refreshment, and remembrance.
All right, mark your cards if you have pan de muerto. This is the hallmark designated treat of El Día de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. The dough has strips that are patterned in a cross-like shape that symbolize the bones of the deceased, and the ball right in the center is actually meant to represent a skull. The bread is typically laid out for our lost loved ones who come back to our ofrenda. The scent of the bread, the smell of it is meant to draw them along with the music and of course the vibrant colors of the flour and everything else that we'll talk about today. But the bread in specific is really significant. The sugar and the seeds have a representation of tears in some areas, in some regions. They also feel like, or they also represent the souls that have not yet found peace. And so it's a bread of like welcoming and embracing. The warmth of it, the freshness of it is meant to really kind of hit home. So for those of you guys who like pan dulce around this season, definitely take a look at your local panaderia, your local bakery for pan de muerto.
Okay, the next one is el agua. So el agua is generally a pitcher or a glass of some sort that's set on the ofrenda. It's usually on the second tier of the altar. Sometimes people will put like a basin with soap and water and a towel. They say that it allows our spirits to bathe and keep clean while during their visit. Also, some instances, favorite beverages like tequila, okay, which also serve to represent the element of water, can add a symbolism, a connection to people. I haven't added the tequila yet to my altar because I was like, well, which one do I want to put up there? So, but yes, el agua, if you have that one on your card, please mark it off and don't forget to include the tequila on your altar.
All right, the next one is papel picado. So the papel picado symbolizes the fragility of life. Its delicate design represents how life eventually fades away. It embodies the element of wind, allowing souls to travel and visit their loved ones. The fluttering, colorful banners create a spiritual atmosphere celebrating the joyful connection between the living and the dead. This also combines indigenous Mexican traditions with Spanish influence. Ancient people once used the bark paper for ceremonial decorations, while the Spanish introduced color paper and refined tools. Together, these elements created the vibrant and intricate papel picado designs used in the Day of the Dead celebrations today.
Right. Mark your cards if you have La Tumba. That's my Univision voice, like La Tumba. The La Tumba is like a really cool icon for me in particular. I think it's one of those examples of like where folks kind of convene to celebrate El Día de los Muertos. And this is a typical location, a very historic and traditional location. But for me, in my family, I remember doing this on Memorial Day. So this is one of those examples, I think, of assimilation residue, where that was the appropriate time to go to the cemetery and, bring fresh flowers and your lawn chairs and your food and sit with at the grave sites of those folks that you had lost. And then I realized later on when this came into my focus, into my purview, that Day of the Dead is a very similar tradition. That's when we would be doing this if the custom was front and center, growing up. So this is a really significant icon for me and a really important piece of the holiday. Mark your cards if you have La Tumba. Just a line, Gabriela. Just 4 in a row.
Okay. Mark your card if you have La Familia. So we've already spoken about, how families gather together in reunions. Juan mentioned we always have music. We love to dance. And we do share a lot of traditional foods. Yeah. And Juan also mentioned, we always went and celebrated, Memorial Day and went and left flowers. And as years have passed, the family members have started to now, hang out more at the cemetery, at the grave sites, and, they'll have a snack or something and they remember and we talk about it. But the participation of our family, it talks about honoring the theme of remembrance, our ancestors, those type of things. But the most important thing is the reason of the gathering as a family together is so that we don't forget them. They often say there's a 3 deaths belief. The first one is, the physical death of the body, obviously that happens. Then the second death is the burial of the body. And then the third death, which they consider the ultimate death and the most final death, is when you forget those who have gone on. You forget your loved ones. And so it's just something to make sure that you keep those loved ones in your mind. So La Familia, if you have that one on your card, mark that off.
All right, and the next one is El Arco de Flores. So this is often seen on altars with 7 or 2 tiers completing the top level. Traditionally made with marigolds, it can also feature fruits or other flowers with designs that vary by region. This practice dates back to prehistoric times, or pre-Hispanic, not prehistoric, pre-Hispanic times, reflecting the deep cultural roots of using flowers like marigolds in the Day of the Dead celebrations. And bonus to anyone who can say the Spanish word for marigolds, because I cannot. Any takers of that challenge?
Simpasuchi.
There you go. Bonus. You get the bonus point.
Awesome. Mark your card if you have La Sal. I can't believe we don't have a bingo yet. Wow. I really mixed these up pretty good. Maybe too good. Sorry. La Sal. So this is a really pivotal part of the ofrenda that's typically found on the altar. It's used for purification or purificación of the souls of the deceased, ensuring that they remain untainted as they travel back. It's also here to welcome ancestors. It's often presented in a small dish or in the pattern of a cross, sometimes on the altar. So la sal. I'm going to move quickly so that we can hopefully get a bingo before we have to transition. I think we probably have to do that after this next one.
Okay, so
we have a
Flor de... Oh, we have a bingo. Ooh, loteria right there.
Loteria. Gabriela, what do you have?
So I have Flor de Muerto was my winner but then I have let me double check really quick. El músico, la tumba, el pan de muerto.
Congratulations to Gabriela, everyone. Congratulations, hand clap, cheer, your virtual whoop whoop. I'm sorry, Gabriela, we don't have an actual award or a trophy or a medal, but we do honor you. Thank you so much for playing. Thank you, all of you, for playing.
Mm-hmm.
Bragging rights, there you go. Awesome. Please, look through the rest of this slide as it becomes available on the LLN site. We want you to really dive into this holiday like we have. It's a labor of love for myself, Adelaida, and Susana. And we want to share that experience with you all as well. And one of the ways that we're eager to do that also in this last activity, before we call it a day, is through a virtual ofrenda. Quick show of hands, how many folks are familiar with Padlet? Yeah, 1 or 2 hearts maybe. So Padlet is a virtual interactive tool. It's used for like organizing thoughts, ideas. It's kind of gotten a lot of traffic and use, I think, during the pandemic era, and it's kind of stayed with us. I know that I use it a lot for work, but we thought this would be a really cool opportunity for us to create a virtual altar in keeping with the circumstances of being remote. And so what you'll see in the chat here pretty soon here is a link to join us on this altar, and to join us in honoring your loved ones, the people that you would love to commemorate this season of Dia de los Muertos with us. You'll see a couple of entries already on there. And they are entries from your panelists that were here today. And I think some folks from LLN as well were also uploading some memorabilia, some pictures, and some memories that they also decided to type out underneath those posts. This is completely optional. Of course, we're not going to require this at all. This is at your discretion. If you do have a photo, we'd love to see the picture of your loved one. Some of you already shared them here in the chat. Give us a little blurb about who they were, what they meant in life, and how you honor them now in this stage. And we'd love to have that experience shared. You'll notice that there are different categories. There's a column for pets even, which, by the way, Dia de los Muertos is celebrated across a series of days. One of the things, and I promised Sedona this in the chat, one of the new things that I learned is that on the 27th of October this month, that's the day that we traditionally welcome los perritos, the dogs. I can't remember the indigenous name for them off the top of my head, but we did have them in our loteria.
Alebrije, isn't it?
Well, it's specifically it's Xolowitz.
Oh,
so I think that's how
the
it's
solo
right.
dog, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, they're called alebrijes, but alebrijes is more encompassing of like a lot of type of spirit animals. Specifically for October 27th, that's when we typically welcome back I think it's typically dogs, Xolowitz who actually prepare the path, prepare the way for our ancestors to come back to their ofrenda, to their altar of their family, and join them on that holiday. So if you have pets, important fur babies in your life that were really important to you or your family, please, there's a 4th column there for that. Friends, coworkers, famous icons and mentors. Selena Quintanilla Perez is up there twice. One of them is mine. I'll always remember her. And share with us, your thoughts and your on your loved ones and how you remember them, how you honor them, and how you carry them with you, even in these moments where we spend most of our days working. We appreciate and we thank you so much for your vulnerability and for your participation in that. I believe we'll also share this ofrenda through our next LLN general meeting, which will take place in December. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Edmini or Sedona.
That's correct. And a word of caution for everyone to keep in mind, everything you put on this will be accessible via what's it called? Public disclosure requests. So, and also just, if you use these people's names as your password, maybe change that password anyway. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with that, we welcome any closing thoughts. Addie, Susana, any last words for our host today and for the people who joined us?
I just have to say thank you. Thank you to the whole LLN. You've definitely helped broaden my horizons, learn more about my heritage and culture, where my family is from, and have allowed me to share this with my children going forward. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this community.
Yes, and I've really enjoyed the time getting to learn more about, our culture and being able to share that with, more people and getting people more involved, especially in this time. It's very important to be proud of who we are and, be there for each other. And, a lot of us are who we are because of, a lot of our like grandparents, friends, and people that have passed away that shaped us into who we are. And yeah, it's just been a really great experience. And thank you, Juan. You organized our meetings. You kept me and Addie in line, and it's been a lot of fun.
You're so unruly. Oh, no. Absolute amazing time working with Susana and Adelaida. And thank you all so much for this opportunity. Please go out and celebrate in a way that's most meaningful to you and your family. And don't forget, honor them. Honoring them is honoring yourself because they are a part of you. And that's the beautiful thing about this holiday. So Feliz Dia de los Muertos, everybody, and be safe out there. I'll turn it over to Edminia.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This is so important to share. Just, as we talk about continually growing, we learn more. And when we do presentations, we learn even more. So thank you for teaching us what you learned and for all of us to grow together. Yes, we will be featuring the altar and celebrating all of the Hispanic Heritage Month's presentations that we've done. This is our last one, but we're going to celebrate them all in December, do some report outs, share all of what you've contributed to the altar. And we really just appreciate you and thank you for attending. We're not quite done. We're just going to have some, if you want to stick around, some announcements or things, other things that we're doing, and then a final that song that you heard at the beginning. We're going to show the video for it. So Estefania Martinez Limo is our dedicated bookworm, and just all things reading and books. And she added, not only did she do Hispanic Heritage Month in September, she gave us more books in October. So I've updated the list on our website, and she has included Wild Tongues Can't Be Tamed, We Are Home, First in the Family, A Story of Survival, and Fresh Banana Leaves. So it's important not only to an act of resistance to speak Spanish or our primary language, indigenous languages. I wish I knew one. And also to read books that are written by our community in English or in Spanish or indigenous languages. So these are books written by people in our community about our community. Who better to hear it from than from our own community? So, and we posted our video to our website as well. Thank you, Lorraine, for that. Our next meeting is on December 9th. So still the second Tuesday of the month. If your link doesn't work for any reason, please reach out because we did send out a new link in September. Same link as September, but it was new in September. So if you weren't here in September or October, please reach out or get our newsletters so that you can have the updated link. And we are in troubled times. And so I just always want to remind us that there are resources on the Commission of Hispanic Affairs website for everything that is going around us in regards to immigration and immigration enforcement. You can find us on all the socials. We've been trying to keep them updated. Our website, which I put the link in the chat, is updated, so you can find the recordings we already have on YouTube from there and links to any resources that we've shared during our presentations. And of course, we support all BRGs as they also have lunch and learns and more opportunities to learn about our other communities, marginalized communities especially. So, did I stop? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Sedona she is ready and has it up. Here is our last video. The video we heard at the beginning, but now we get to watch it because it's a beautiful video that Adelaida also found for us about Dia de los Muertos.
parece. Aunque la vida me cueste, llorona, no dejaré de quererte. Aunque la vida me cueste, llorona, no dejaré de quererte. No sé qué tienen las flores, llorona, las flores del Campo Santo. No sé qué tienen las flores, llorona, las flores del Campo Santo, que cuando las mueve el viento, llorona, parece que están llorando, que cuando las mueve el viento, llorona, parece que están llorando. A un santo Cristo de fierro, llorona, mis penas le conté yo. A un santo Cristo de fierro, llorona, mis penas le conté yo. ¿Cuáles no serían mis penas, llorona, que el santo Cristo lloró? ¿Cuáles no serían mis penas, llorona, que el santo Cristo lloró? No creas que porque canto, llorona, tengo el corazón alegre. No creas que porque yo canto, llorona, tengo el corazón alegre. También de dolor se canta, llorona, cuando llorar ya no se puede. También de dolor se canta, llorona, cuando llorar ya no se puede.